everybody, I'm Elizabeth Hines from Our Paleo Family, and today we're making ham in the Instant Pot. It's a couple weeks before Easter, and I know a lot of people you're loving your Instant Pot and you want to use it all the time, and I think that's great. And so I'm showing you how to prepare your Easter ham in the Instant Pot. So I went to my Whole Foods today and I said I want a fresh ham, and the guy said, you know, we don't usually get fresh hams, occasionally. I say, can I order it? And he, because they always have their special order people out before, it seems like every holiday, ordering turkeys at Thanksgiving and whatnot. But no, he said, no, we don't do special orders around Easter. So that made me sad. But they had these are the typical hams that you find in every grocery store. Now, my Whole Foods ham is uncured, and it doesn't have the nitrites and the nitrates and that sort of thing. But it's still already cooked. It's spiral sliced. It has some sort of glaze on it. This particular one came with a glaze packet, which I'm going to throw away because it's just sugar, basically. And we're basically living Whole30, so no dairy, no sugar, no grains. There is some sugar in the ham already, so they've used some sugar in the curing process, and I couldn't find one without it, so I'm just stuck with it. And I know that this is what most of you can find. I would say buy the best quality that you can in terms of, how the meat was raised, but you want your ham on your Easter table, so just do your best. So what I have here is an 8.5 pound spiral sliced ham, and I have made my own glaze. And I'm going to use my rack in my Instant Pot just because otherwise I think it would really be a beast to get out. And you can see here I've gone ahead and I've chosen to use whole cloves, and I did most of it ahead of time. I just wanted to show you a couple. It's just real easy to stick these in. And I stick them in the fat, the little fat cap, because we don't want to eat these cloves. They're really hard, but we want the flavor, and we're not going to eat that fat. It won't get in my way, is what I'm trying to tell you. If you don't have whole cloves and you have just ground cloves, there's just a teeny bit left in here. So I'm going to sprinkle that in my glaze, which is the rest of the ground part. You could use, instead of 2 tablespoons of whole cloves, you could use a teaspoon of ground cloves. So I went ahead and I made my glaze. God, it's all over my arm. Because I've had it simmering for a while, and I know you know how to put something on the stove on low and let it simmer. So what I have here is one of those small cans of crushed pineapple. It is 8 ounces, all of it with the juice and everything. I took one great big navel orange and I zested it with my microplane grater, and then I juiced that orange, and it gave me about 1/3 of a cup of juice, and so I just topped it off with the orange juice from the fridge to give me 1/2 cup of orange juice. And then I added 2 teaspoons of dried mustard, which I know is a lot. So that might be a little too hot, a little too much mustard heat for some people, but I don't like a lot of heat, and I like that flavor. You could use like a whole ground mustard or Dijon mustard. You could certainly use a prepared mustard if you prefer, but I liked that sort of spiciness of the granulated dried mustard to go with the sort of sweetness of the ham. And obviously there's a lot of salt in a ham, and so you don't need to add any salt. So my only issue is this guy going to fit in my Instant Pot? And I have a feeling he's not. I tried to find one that was shaped such that it would fit really well in my Instant Pot, and oh my gosh, not by a long shot. They were all about like this. I was hoping to find one that was a little bit more round, I guess. So we're just going to have to cut it. And this said it's semi-boneless. I don't honestly know what that means, but I'm going to have to cut and find the bone and cut part of it off. There's that bone right there. And I'm going to kind of smush it in. Okay, and this guy, I know this is not how you're supposed to do it, but I want to get it in there, so I'm trying to make it all fit. And like I said, this particular preparation it's as Whole30 as we can get because, like I said, there is some sugar in how the manufacturer has prepared this ham, and I can't do anything about that. I just can't, because I want to serve my family some ham. So I'm trying to bear in mind that max volume. And I just want to pour this over. If you really like some extra sweetness, you can drizzle some honey or maple syrup directly on top of this. Just right on top. And of course that will be delicious. We're trying to not add that extra sugar. So my ham is sitting on that, pardon me, on that rack. And then I have poured my glaze over top. Did I tell you everything that was in there? The pineapple, the orange juice, the mustard, and the cloves. And that's all. But I do want to pour a little bit of water underneath just because that's what the Instant Pot needs to come up to pressure. So I'm going to carefully, this is where I have the most space on this side. So I'm going to carefully just pour the water down there. Again, this ham is cooked already. So we do not need to cook it. This process is not for cooking. This process is simply for heating it through and infusing what's already pretty darn delicious, which I know because I ate a slice, with our extra yummy flavors, our mustard and our pineapple, and adding some natural sweetness from the orange juice. So what I have found that works well for this is an 8.6 pounds, okay, so a little over 8.5 pounds, is 40 minutes. So we're going to cook this guy for 40 minutes, and we're going to let the pressure come down naturally because we're not in a hurry. And then if you really want that, like the crispy sort of caramelized glaze, by all means put this under the broiler, which is what I'm going to do. I'll show you that, but you certainly don't have to. You can eat it straight out of there. So we'll let this guy go, and I'll see you back here in just a little while. Hey there, so our ham has been in for 40 minutes. It smells amazing. If you'll recall, I have a few sort of random pieces because it was too big to fit in. So I'm just going to pull those out as best I can onto this tray, and I'm putting it on this tray because I'm going to stick the whole thing in the under the broiler for a few minutes to let some of this yummy orange and pineapple glaze caramelize. And I should have told you, I forgot, if you would prefer that this glaze be totally smooth, but still want that, you know, the pineapple flavor, by all means you could blend it. Just stick it in your blender. That would be no problem at all. Okay, so now the tricky part, which is getting, I love these little, these really little pot holders that some of them I made when I was a child, and some of them my kids have made for me. But they're small enough that I can grab something like this. Okay, so yeah, that made a little bit of a mess, but it's no problem. And we have lots of juice in there because, you know, I had to put some water down in there for the pressure to build up. I would like to just slip this off of here if I can. It's just spinning around on me. There we go. I feel like somebody's playing a trick on me. There we go. So, I've had to remove a rack from my oven because this is too high to fit under my broiler. And I have it on high, and I'm just going to keep an eye on it and let some of this caramelize a little bit. And you know what? Actually, I am going to use a little bit of this broth. Just put over top. Like I said before, you could have put some honey or maple syrup on top of your ham before it went in the Instant Pot. You can certainly do the same thing right now if you wanted a little bit more of a caramelized glaze on top. But we're just going to go with this pineapple and orange. Hi everybody, so look at our delicious ham. After I pulled this out of the oven from under the broiler, I couldn't help but think about in the barbecue world, they have this thing called burnt ends. Are you familiar with burnt ends? It would be like what they might trim off from brisket or, you know, whatever kind of smoked meat that gets like real crispy. That's what we have right here. And some people, like, you can order an order of burnt ends because it's caramely and delicious and amazing. So we can put some of these pieces of ham that are just sort of chunk style on the platter. So we get all those little crispy pieces for people that want that. And then here you can see how this caramelized, and you know, this was a spiral sliced ham, which means it had already been sliced somewhat from the company that provided the ham to the store. I'm going to say made the ham, but you know what I mean. So I'm going to have to tilt it. I'm going to hold it. We're just going to slice some off. The cloves smell so amazing. It's very tender and moist, so we have this delicious the crispy edges, which people, I'm sure, were thinking, oh, you're not going to get that if you don't put that sugary glaze on the top. We absolutely did get that delicious those delicious crispy edges. This glaze has so much flavor, and it's really simple with just the pineapple, the orange juice, and mustard, and then cloves. The cloves were stuck in my ham. So I'm trying to make this look a little bit pretty to display for you. If you follow my blog, you probably know that photography is not my forte. I'm much more about making a recipe that tastes really good than just making a recipe that looks really good. I want it to taste delicious more so than look delicious. If it looks great, that's a bonus. So this was a sort of a thick piece that didn't have that spiral slicing. So I'll just cut it, no big deal. Cut it like you would any sort of roast. Any way you slice it, we've got plenty of ham. We're going to be eating ham for a while. So here's our amazing glazed ham, warmed up in the Instant Pot and perfectly acceptable for the paleo diet. And I hope that you love this. It was really simple and not super quick, but I mean less than an hour, which, considering you could eat the ham right out of the package, it was already cooked. You can't get much faster than that, just opening the package. But I wanted to infuse it with some of this flavor, so it was pretty quick and easy in our Instant Pot. The hardest part, cutting it down to size and squeezing it into the Instant Pot. So if you had the big 8-quart Mac Daddy Instant Pot, you would have probably not had any problem. Although I really like my 6-quart, it's a great size. So here you go, a holiday ham. We're going to have it for Easter with our scalloped potatoes, some fresh asparagus, and probably a whole bunch of jelly beans and chocolate. So happy holidays to you if you're preparing this for a holiday. If not, just happy ham eating, everybody. See you next time.